Na sisi wote tuseme kupe. Alafu pale tuko na our trustees. You can raise na kusema kupe power. Simama hapa na Libash. Asante sana. Now my powers have been released. Mnipigie makofi kwa lazima jameni. Kupe power. Alafu tuko na women nominees. All women nominees. Nominated women nominees. Simama na mseme kupe power. Thank you. We have 12 of them, and they sit at the National Governing Council. Alafu tuko na people who sit in the committees yote ya national, all committee members. Simama na tuseme kupet power. Now tuseme power. Sasa mimi power yangu imereduce sana. I want now to hand over to my national chairman to be interdicted. I want to give him to introduce the national official and the visitors who are there, because I'm a man I serve behind him with sincerity and honesty. The MP for Emuhaya, the only one, the man who is a bullfighter. Able to say my Emuhaya, Emuhaya, power. Able to karibisha kwa makofi moja. Asante.
Wapi makofi ya Julius Korir? Bwana Big River. Wapi makofi yake tena? Thank you very much. At this juncture, our honorable guests, I will make a few remarks so that you may be privy and aware of what the union does and where we are headed to. I then bring the Secretary General, who will give his speech, because it's very important to communicate through you, possibly to the government, on issues that do affect the teachers. But before then, I have the task of introducing the national officials. And at the very extreme left is Brother Edward Obocha, who is the National Secretary in charge of secondary schools. Next to him is Honorable Tonui, who is the Assistant National Treasurer. Him Chelanga de Flamboyant, who is the National Secretary in charge of tertiary institutions. Next is Paul Maingi, who is the National Organizing Secretary. When I come up here, we have Bwana Julius Korir, the Big River, who is the National Vice National Chairman. When I go to my extreme left, we have Moses Durima. He is Anjuri Njeke, and who is the National Deputy Secretary. Amongst us, also, like I indicated, are the trustees of the union. And they are all right there. You can wave, please. Thank you very much. And down here, as I are those who served in the union. Many of you hear about Tom Chariga, Just Rise and Well. This was the first executive secretary who registered the union. Serving after Chariga was none other than the eloquent and flamboyant, speedy-speaking Wanyonyi Butel. I think he did great in terms of marketing the union, because more than many times he confronted big crowds, but still succeeded. And finally, did invite is none other than Jeru Kanyamba, who also served. Thank you. The other guests will be introduced later by the Secretary General. Honorable Mudavadi, Prime Cabinet Secretary. The Honorable Ezekiel Machogu, Cabinet Secretary for Education. Mr. Kelo Misori, the Secretary General, KUPPET. Members of the National Board, branch chairmen, executive secretaries, treasurers, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to welcome you to the 25th Annual Delegates Conference of KUPPET, which also marks the Union Silver Jubilee celebrations. My special thanks go to the Right Honorable Mudavadi, who is also my party leader, and the Honorable Ezekiel Machogu, representative, for finding time from their busy schedule to join us in making this auspicious occasion. I will start my remarks by paying tribute to the founders of this union, Tom Chariga, who is here with us. We also have among such other pioneers as David Chepkech, who has not come but was invited. Mr. Ngunga Wangunga, who was invited but has not come. Mr. Njeru Kanyamba, whom I have already introduced to you. Mr. Wanyonyi Bute, who is also in the house and I'm introducing to you. Allow me also to commend today's leaders of KUPPET, including the National Executive Board and trustees, branch leaders, and our women representatives for keeping the KUPPET flying through this nation. It is your dedication to this union which has enabled us to run the institution's activities with such a success every succeeding year. It is through the regular conduct of union business at branch levels, including regular BEC and BGC meetings, that branch investments based on your own innovations and creativity, your visibility at branch levels and nationally, and your routine communication with members that keeps the fire burning at KUPPET. Despite the ever-evolving challenges in labor landscape, the ending year has been quite successful, one for KUPPET, but with many challenges. Among the few areas of success is to begin by one thanking the Prime Cabinet Secretary that in the year 2021 we signed a CBA with the government that was non-monetary. But last year, early this year, we want to thank you that your government allowed us to sign an addendum which gave the teachers only 7 to 10% of pay increase. But also, together with that small pay increase, which was specifically supposed to cushion them against the housing tax which we had a discussion with the President, you also added us a little bit, small amounts on the harmonized house allowance. I want to indicate, Prime Cabinet Secretary, that we are looking forward to your government, the Kenya Kwanza government, when we come to the 2025 CBA, that you also reward these teachers greatly. Our wish has always been that you give the teachers of Kenya a 30 to 70% pay increase and other perks associated with pay increment. That is house allowance and so on and so forth. And when I was in State House with the head of state, Prime Cabinet Secretary, please remind him, we took him through all the presidents and how they had awarded the teachers, beginning with Kenyatta, coming to Moi, who gave Adongo the celebrated 1998 deal, which was 200%. I took him through the Kibaki time, who gave the teachers harmonization, and that was a great lift for the teachers. And I also took him through the work he had done with his predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta, who gave us a CBA of 54 billion. So I told him, and we told him, that even as we take this small addendum, please, it is your chance as the Kwanza government to also reward the teachers of Kenya. Our chief guests and honorable members, I want to indicate and thank your government, especially through Parliament, that we were able to remove the monster that was disturbing our teachers in the form of delocalization of teachers. But we still have some remnants of teachers who have not been delocalized. I want to thank Parliament because this went through Parliament and your Kwanza government took it very quickly and that policy was removed. We are asking that any remnants we have of teachers who are still far away from their families, some who are very old, your word, together with government, to the Teacher Service Commission, should easily bring them back home so that old men who are about to retire do not stay behind the shops, away from their families. Cabinet Secretary, I want to indicate that we want to thank your government, the Kenya Kwanza government, for employing teachers, some of whom we have invited here. And the number goes to very high, 56,000. And indeed, I must thank the Kwanza government because I've been around for a while. And each time any government employed teachers, it only did employ 5,000 per year. And in 5 years, episode round of election, we would only realize 25,000 teachers employed. But the Kwanza government employed 56,000 teachers. However, we want to plead with you that those teachers who were employed, most of them were not employed on permanent and pension basis. And that's the team that's right seated there in the form of JSS. Honorable Prime Cabinet Secretary, they were promised that after 1 year they will be recognized as PNP by the teacher side. We are very glad and we are humbled that you came, because with your presence here, this message goes to government directly and to His Excellency to actualize the PNP employment of the JSS teachers who are well represented. I cannot stop at that juncture without mentioning what you have done for promotions. And we have to thank this government to this extent that by last year when we were here during the ADC, promotions had completely been blocked. But now we are talking about 51,000 promotions that are ongoing. You gave us 14,000, you gave us 6,000, and you have given us 30,000. Your Excellency, another group of 17,000 teachers are remaining. And through government intervention, the teacher service must be told that it must expedite the promotion of all teachers by end of January, because Parliament was unable to add the Teacher Service Commission an amount of 1 billion because they have not consumed what they have. And it's the nature of Parliament where I sit for the people of Emuhaya that once you have been given money to consume and you are not consuming it on time, then we shall not add you money. So we are asking you to ask the Teacher Service Commission to expedite that process so that by mid-January every teacher is promoted and all the money is spent so that we can look forward to more promotions. We are asking you that when we had an interaction with His Excellency the President, he promised us in the supplementary one to give us another 1 billion for promotion. If that 1 billion is given, we shall have another 17,000 teachers promoted. And that's what we are asking. Corporate power. Your Excellency, before I bring the Secretary General to speak on other issues that are emerging amongst us, let me conclude by adding only 2 things. I think we have done the JSS, so we shall not repeat anything about them for now. Medical cover. Oh, Your Excellency, you are meeting a team of teachers that if they live here and anybody gets sick now, he will not have a chance to be treated in the hospital. That the practitioners who are providing this medical cover in the name of Alminet are now not admitting teachers to be treated in the hospitals. And therefore the teachers are living under great danger. And we are asking the government, your government, and my government to actually expedite the issue of medical cover and even enhance it, and if possible, bring on board a medical cover and practitioner who will actually give the best services to the teachers. But this is the most serious item about medical cover. Your Excellency, did you know that these teachers have been denied group cover, which used to be there? Group life cover. However, it is a case of discrimination. We did follow and realize that the civil servants are getting it through the superannuation team, which is well represented here. And I think he'll be speaking on this. We realize that the police are getting the group cover through the same scheme. However, Your Excellency, it's only the teachers who are currently not getting the group cover. This message we give it to you, so that the teachers of Kenya can start enjoying group cover like they used to have it before. Corporate power. Finally, Your Excellency, let me leave this one to the Secretary General, the issue of CBA. So without much ado, I will have simply paraphrased my speech for the interest of time. We want to thank you for coming, and we believe your presence here is a direct channel to government so that they can look at the plight of the teachers. With those many remarks, allow me, corporate power, to bring the Secretary General Akello Misori to address this congregation. Wapi makofi ya Akello Misori. Where is the Pope of the Union, Akello Misori? Could somebody search around and bring Akello Misori to the podium? Welcome. Very well. Please, the DJ, give us a small interlude together with the band before Akello Misori can come. Otherwise, Your Excellency, we are so proud that you have attended this annual delegates conference for the teachers of Kenya, KUPPET, and this is the KUPPET, and this is the union of the moment. DJ. Bring some of our other guests to actually speak to us, and then I'll bring the Secretary General later. One of the most important persons who is in the House and whom we succumb to because he is the person who is in charge of all trade unions in Kenya, the registrar of the trade unions. Let me welcome the registrar of trade unions to come and speak to us. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Mileba. What is correct? Yes, Your Excellency, the Chief Cabinet Secretary, and all the leadership of the KUPPET. Good morning. I am very privileged to have this opportunity to attend your annual delegates conference. Last year you had invited me, but unfortunately I was working in Mombasa, so I was not able to come. I am quite new in the office. I only came in late September 2022 last year, so I haven't met most of you, but I've met some of you, and I decided to honor the invitation so that I can meet you because you are my clients. And I'm happy that I was privileged to register the newest branch, that is the Mandela branch of KUPPET. It was actually my the first branch of the unions that I registered. So that is my first baby in terms of the branches. So I just want to assure you that as you are aware, our mandate is the registration and regulation of trade unions, employers organizations and federations. And we are there to facilitate you and support you so that you can operate. So we are there to support you in case you have any issue that you want us to address. We'll be able to address it. And our main duty is to ensure that you have there is proper governance within the unions and also internal democracy within the unions. That is what we are supposed to ensure. So when you bring your Form Q, we'll check whether have you followed your constitution, have you followed the Labor Relations Act. That is what we are supposed to do. If we make a decision and you are not satisfied, you have a right to go to court and appeal against our decision. Because that is your right under the Constitution and under the Labor Relations Act. So we are there to support you, and we'll continue to work with you so that we ensure that the union grows and goes to the next level. So thank you very much, and asante sana for the invitation.
Thank you, the registrar of the trade unions. Wapi makofi ya registrar. At this juncture, I'm now ready, KUPPET power, to introduce the spokesman of the union, none other than Akelo Misori, the Pope. You may step forward now and address this congregation.
Thank you so much, Brother Chairman, and thank you so much, delegates, to the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Honorable Ezekiel Machogu, is ably represented by Dr. Abdi, the Regional Director of Education, Nairobi, Madam Nasuda, the Registrar of Trade Union, Madam Beatrice, the Labour Commissioner, Madam Helen, my brother Omboko from FKE, our friend from FPSS, representing the CEO, the Chairman of KUPPET, the branch executive secretaries, all our distinguished guests led by veteran Secretary Generals, Tom Chariga, who is now currently permanent trustee, Wanyonyi Buteo, who steered the publicity of the union, and my brother Kanyama, who registered most of the unions present here, members of the executive board, and all invited guests. I take this opportunity to welcome you once again to the 25th Annual Delegates Conference of KUPPET and KUPPET at 25. This is indeed a great day for KUPPET and all Kenyan teachers. Maybe if I take all of us through memory lane, in 2001, when the union was introduced to us by Tom Chariga and Wanyonyi Buteo, the membership of the union stood at 300. And currently, KUPPET boasts a membership of 160,000. Let me extend my deepest gratitude to the Prime Cabinet Secretary, the Right Honorable Mudavadi, for creating time to be with us, despite the countless issues demanding his attention. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. To the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Honorable Ezekiel Machogu, we say thank you for gracing this occasion. Tell him that we are really very grateful, because the notice we gave the Cabinet Secretary was so short. And if he was not committed with the President in PC, he would be here. To all guests from the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Labor, KOTU, Teacher Service Commission, and other partners who have come to celebrate with us, I say asante sana. In a special way, I'm delighted to welcome 5 auspicious guests to the conference. First and foremost, the union's founder, Mr. Tom Chariga. Could you please come, stand? The others are Mr. David Chepkechi has not come. Mr. Wanyonyi Buteo is here. Could you please stand? Mberu Kanyamba, and we expected Francis Ruga. These are the inventory that all the members of the union need to appreciate. Thank you so much, you may sit. The union has stood on its feet as a union at a time when things were very bad. And I remember one particular time we could not afford to come to a more elaborate institution like this, because like Tom Chariga and Buteo, you know where we used to congregate to transact the business of the union. I don't know whether Kanyamba saw that. In near very funny places. Another groups of guests are the delegates. The National Executive Board made an auspicious and precedented decision of inviting 2 JSS teachers from each branch to the ADC. I hope the JSS teachers are seated on my left. Comrades, welcome. This is serious. The move was in recognition of the hard work teachers have done under difficult conditions and the peculiar challenges they face. But when Prime Cabinet Secretary, Your Excellency, we have teachers who are working in very peculiar conditions. And I think this is what I will address. I will not address the issue of bread and butter today, but I would wish to ask the government to address the issue of infrastructure in our schools. Our schools are in dilapidated conditions, and these teachers have expressed deplorable working conditions. Besides, low pay of only 20,000, which is deducted, and they earn 17,000. I will bring you up to speed on some of the union key development and programs in the medium and near term community engagements. During the year, the union supported several local, national, and regional activities for members, and this includes sports, drama, and even participating in events like tree planting. I would ask members that the trees that you plant as a government policy should be transformed to tree growing. You must nurture those trees because of the green economy. We have vibrancy in branches. Delegates, I commend you for the growth and vibrancy in your branches. We used to have several commotions and noises, but currently we have development in every branch. To mention just a few, branches like Homa Bay have bought a land, Nakuru they have land, Uasin Gishu have land, Bomet has even a center, they have built a center, Muranga, Nairobi, Kakamega, mention near Meru, you have now the chance to lead in getting us land. Our performance in running the BBF is also commendable. International forums. We have engaged our international partners in meetings and affiliation. But back at home, we have had very brisk engagement in terms of organizing ourselves. So we have had to develop a publication which most of you have now, the publication of the 5-year strategic plan to guide our operations in the next phase, redefining of the union's brand, identity, and exposed in corporate mission and vision statements, partnerships with fraternal unions, business partners, and social dialogue partners. I hope you have seen we have banks which have really cooperated, and they have even supported the production of Mentor magazine. These are things which are creating visibility and showing the level at which the union has gone. We have also created purposeful merchandise, including stationery, bags, and so on. We have also increased collaboration with strategic partners, including fraternity. We also have opened in our engagement. I did indicate, and the chairman has really, I don't need to go back to this because the chairman talked about it. In our engagement with government, our strategy is that we have to give and take. You realize that from 2016, when Kuppet insisted and talked to the former president in Mombasa, he allowed that the unions must now negotiate with Teacher Service Commission on what we call CPA engagement under social platform platforms. We did this, and for the first time, the union signed a CBA in 2016, and in October, we signed the CBA of 2016-2021, which gave rise to some of the coveted high rise in institutional managers' salaries. But the rest of the team were given peanuts. Your Excellency, that is the reason for which the national chairman was asking the government to open up a window. We are aware that there is the existence of this monster called the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. But if this monster is allowed to dictate and to usurp the powers of unions to negotiate, then you will have a lot of industrial unrest. We must be giving the CBA negotiations a chance. So we will be asking government, and this is now the next frontier and strategy for us, that members, in 2024, we must ask the government to open up this addendum, which gave us only 7 to 10%, to make us realize 30 to 70% pay increase. Because where we are coming from, we cannot afford even cheap houses. We cannot afford even cheap transport. We cannot afford many of the basic needs. We cannot take our children to the same schools where we teach, because the salary that we now currently earn is really subjected to very serious statutory deductions and taxes which are a real burden. The government is aware of this, and you get this one on a daily basis. And then we also will be calling for expanded collective bargaining. Colleagues, maybe going forward, we must look at how we survive. So we must engage our other colleagues, and it may force us to swallow our pride and ensure that our engage all the public servant unions. In our international affiliations conference, CUPET participated in the International Labour Center programs of COTU. We will be going to Argentina next year for the World Teachers' Day. And the chairman, I think, has already indicated, we will be asking for the first time that branch officials accompany us to this conference, because, and support from the conference. But above all conference, what this conference and our 25 years demand is go public and fund education. The nature of funding modules that we currently enjoy in this country, I don't know whether we enjoy, is making education unreachable and making education a commercial venture, because private enterprises are now beacons of very good programs than our public institutions. So as public teachers, our concern and our motto is that go public and fund public education. With those many remarks, I want to make the last one, that one of the things which make teachers demotivated is when teachers are hired for services by Kenya National Examination Council. And this is December, teachers have left working centers and they are going home without anything to celebrate. Could we have National Examination Council to pay teachers? Who paid power? With those many remarks, I would wish to ask you to enjoy the 5 years of CUPET and ask any questions from these veterans. God bless you.
We are live on Citizen TV. And now I want to bring a few speakers whom I'll only give 3 minutes to give season greetings, after which we bring the Prime Cabinet Secretary to address this conference. Is that in order? Now, let me bring none other than the Labour Commission, Helen Appiah. Wapi makofi ya mama. In CUPET, we nominate ladies to meet the 1/3 rule, and we are working on it. Karibu sana.
honorable members of parliament who are also members of PET, Honorable Tanui, Honorable Captain Wambilianga, I do not see her here, but I know she's part of this process, and many members of parliament who are members of PET, but also the leadership at the county levels, but who are also members of PET. PET is well endowed in terms of leadership. The executive council members who are here, government officials who are here, all protocols observed. Good morning. Good morning again. First, allow me to extend the apologies and the regards of the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, Madam Florence Bore, who was invited to join me in this very important occasion, but was not able to attend because of other duties, commitments that she had earlier. In the same breath, allow me to also extend the regards of the Principal Secretary for Labor and Skills Development, Mr. Shadrach Mwadime, who would have also loved to be here, but is not here. So on that note, I will say good morning again. Hamjambo. Hamjambo tena. Yes. With that, Prime Cabinet Secretary, allow me to also give a chance to a friend of PET who was invited, but also we work with him closely, having worked with the Federation of Kenya Employers and continues to serve employers. So just 1 minute to greet the congregation in the spirit of tripartism.
Thank you, Sister Ellen. Thank you, Sister Ellen. The Cabinet Secretary, the Chief Cabinet Secretary, Excellency Musale Mudavadi, Brother Kelo Misori, all protocols observed. I would want to state as follows, that I'm here to be with you as a friend of COPET, and that I've seen most of you when I come to support COPET in other avenues. As I've been introduced, I've not changed my name. I'm still Moses Mbok, and I'm more than proud. I'm delighted to be with you. And for COPET, I'm saying, Ongera as you celebrate your 25 years jubilee. COPET power.
Thank you, Mr. Mbok, for those remarks. I think I would have failed in my duty in promoting tripartism, Your Excellency, so I needed to do that. I am advised by the Master of Ceremony, Mr. Mbok. Mr. Mbok, remember the chairman. The two names are confusing, Oboko and Mbok. They're very close. That we are pressed for time, but I have a speech that I was given by the Principal Secretary to deliver, a speech which I will hand over to the Secretary General after this, but the message is intact. But I would like to just highlight the points that the Principal Secretary wanted to deliver to you. One, the Principal Secretary wants to commend COPET for its good governance. Good governance that you're able to hold annual delegates conference every year, this being the 25th delegates conference, and which is a Silver Jubilee celebration. And on that note, he applauds you, and you need to applaud yourself for that good performance within the labor movement. Through this, you're able to promote the freedom of association and the rights of association, which is enshrined in the Constitution, but also many instruments that Kenya has ratified, and it is important in terms of improving performance and service to the membership. Through this delegates conference, you're able to give direction and evaluate your performance. He further applauds the membership of COPET for serving the country with great dedication over the years, not just as workers, but really as nurturers. Those who attend to the young population in this country. It's young population in this country, through which then you're able to impart important values which are able to place Kenya within the global context, become globally competitive in terms of values, which is important in terms of economic progress of this country. CUPEX has done extremely well in terms of representation of its membership through the successive collective agreements it has negotiated in defense of its memberships, both in court and public fora, as well as in shaping public policy discourse in this country. And for that, the Principal Secretary hopes that you will maintain this. Going forward, the Principal Secretary just wants to reiterate and remind CUPEX that the Ministry and government stands for social justice which should be promoted through promotion of human rights and capability, equal access to opportunity for employment, fair distribution, and just share of benefits, and just transition. This, of course, aligns well with the better economic transformation agenda for 2022 to 2027. And it is his appeal that as you engage with employers and government, you keep those ideals in focus, that you do not depart from that. Third, he wants to draw your attention to the fact that the government provides education for all, and there are many interventions that have been put in place. Key amongst them, the combat against child labor, and which it has reached out to many international development partners as well as local to try and combat that. And so, in this regard, it has pursued a partnership with the International Labour Organization under the Alliance 847 initiative, through which we hope we will make greater strides in combating child labor. Last but not least, he calls your attention to the national effort to promoting decent work for all. And there are two international instruments which the ministry will be at the fore in promoting, and that is Convention number 189 and Convention number 190, which addresses the issue of decent work at the workplace, trying to combat and eliminate all forms of harassment and violence at the workplace. And we call upon you to make your contribution by adding your voice to this particular discourse. And with that, Your Excellency, the Principal Secretary wishes to pet and all gathered here Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very quickly, in 3 minutes, please, you can use your time very effectively. Let me bring the regional director, Nairobi, just to say hi. 2 minutes. Ma'am Margaret, just look.
The Prime Cabinet Secretary and the CS for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, Honorable Mudavadi, other guests were invited here, led by our Director General, Dr. Elias. Ladies and gentlemen, I did not expect to be invited, but since I'm the host to all of you delegates here in Nairobi, I want to recognize the good work done by Wanambora, who really helped me a lot, especially in the County Education Board, and I believe you are helping my colleagues in the field to ensure that we get education right in this country. Our guest of honor today, mine is only to say welcome to Nairobi, and when my seniors are here, I do not make any other remarks. Asante.
Thank you very much. This must have been a teacher. Very disciplined. Wapi makofi yake. Before we bring the Prime Cabinet Secretary, let me now bring the Director General. Director General, Dr. Elias Abdi, who is representing the CS Education. Director, I'll give you 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. The chief guest for this annual delegates conference, prepared, Prime Cabinet Secretary, His Excellency Honorable Mudavadi, the National Chairman, prepared, and also the MP for Emuhaya, Honorable Volko, the Secretary General, Akelo Misori, members of the National Executive Board of CUPET, delegates for this annual conference. Good morning. Well, I'm here on behalf of our Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Ezekiel Machogu. He wanted to be here, but he has gone for a tour of duty. Your Excellency, the Chief Guest, is traveled with His Excellency the President and his Kisi Council today. So he has sent his greetings and to wish you success in this ADC for the year 2023. Your Excellency, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, I was just from the ministry side and on behalf of our Cabinet Secretary, just to say that we work very closely with our trade unions, specifically our teacher trade unions, CUPET being one of them. Our CUPET is a member of the county education boards in this country, there are 7 of them, where issues are deliberated at that level. Everything that we do at headquarters, any policy will be there and all that, CUPET has always been our reference point in terms of getting views, in terms of education policy. This year, we are also impressed as a ministry about the theme of this conference, Go Public Fund Education. Internationally, Prime Secretary, countries are supposed to fund 15 to 20% of their budgets, to education. 15 to 20% of any government annual budget is recommended that goes to education. But in our country here, we're always doing 30%. And a big chunk of that money goes to salaries of teachers. I know I've attended quite a number of international forums with your secretary, when Akelo Misori. And if you look at the region, our teachers are one of the best paid teachers in terms of teachers' salaries. And no, I'm only talking of facts, so you just bear with me. I know it is human nature to be wanting more, but the reality of the matter is that if you look at, if we compare ourselves to the region, we're doing well. And that's why even the performance in terms of education outcome, regionally we're also the best. Look at, for example, the recent SACMEC results that have been released, the Southern and Eastern African Consortium for Measuring Education Quality, where 15 sub-Saharan African countries participate at grade 6. Kenya is number 2 in numeracy, number 2 in literacy after Mauritius. And we're even ahead of a number of other countries, including, South Africa. And our teachers are doing quite a good job at that level. But again, when it comes to funding education in this country, we are one of the countries that fund its public education better than many other countries. Recently, for example, the new level of education, chief guest, that we have just launched this academic year is the junior secondary education, junior school. Junior school at grade 6, our capitation for private education is 1,420 shillings per child. But the moment they step in grade 7, through the leadership of His Excellency the President of this country, every child at junior now gets 15,000 Kenyan shillings. Out of that capitation, if you look at some amount of money goes to purchase of laboratory items, equipment. So, and in terms of even the CPC materials, in terms of even the CPC materials that we buy, it also goes into that. So, what we are saying is, in terms of funding education, this country has always had it as a priority. Because I agree with you, education is a public good. It cannot be left in the hands of the private sector. And therefore, we have been always funding education as a country. Each and every learner in this country, whether in grade 1 or up to grade 12 at Form 4, gets a textbook for all the subjects they do. These are facts, including the junior school students at grade 7. Now they are transiting to grade 8. Each one of them will get a textbook for all the subjects they are doing. And so, as a country, we continue investing in education as is required. And so, we've, of course, made a lot of strides, and the results can already be seen in that. When it comes to globally, because as a country, we are also, party to conventions that have been signed. SDGs, for example, Sustainable Development Goal number 4, Your Excellency, has 7 targets, ensuring that we give 12 years of basic education to our children, we ensuring that we invest early, right from pre-primary, ensuring that we increase the literacy and numeracy of our masses, and so on. And the means of achieving those 7 targets are 3. First among them is to ensure that we have adequate supply of teachers. And as a country, we have been doing a lot, because that's why we have over 350,000 teachers today in the payroll. And when it comes to a single entity employing people, the Teacher Service Commission is the biggest employer in the East and Central African countries. That is a plus. These are facts that you people can see. Of course, another component is to ensure that we provide infrastructure. This country has always expanded infrastructure at this basic education level, because basic education in this country is free and compulsory. And you people why basic education is free and compulsory, unlike higher education and Tibet. Because basic education makes the human being functional. For you to be able to read and write, for you to be literate and numerate, then it makes you functional. That's why basic education is free and compulsory. So, as a country, very soon, the country will roll out the construction of grade 9 classrooms, ensuring that also we put up laboratories at our junior school, and so on. So we want our teachers to ensure that they also put a lot of effort, such that forums like this, what will come out mainly is the learning outcomes, the teaching and learning that goes on in our classrooms. Because at the end of it, a good education system that is well funded, it's about the classroom, what takes place in the classroom. And you people are in the classroom. So ensure that we implement the curriculum and deliver the content that our teachers have been assigned to the curriculum. Ensure that the curriculum is delivered. So I think that's all I have to say, and I wish you very successful ADC. Asante sana. Thank you.
Very well. Wapi mtu alikuwa 30 seconds. Wacha tusimame. Karibu sana. Wapi watu wa Kisumu? Napokaribisha Prime Cabinet Secretary, wacha nione mikono juu. Asante sana kwa hiyo mkono wako. Be happy anytime when God has given you life. Asante sana. Thank you, DJ. Asante sana DJ, wacha tumkaribishe Prime Cabinet Secretary. Juzi, proceed.
Asante. Okay. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Mboko Milemba. I will make some formal remarks and then I will partially respond to some of the issues that have been raised here. Honorable Mboko Milemba, Chairman of KUPPET, Honorable Akelo Misori, Secretary General, members of the National Executive Board, trustee members of the National Governing Council, my colleagues from government, Ministry of Education and Labor, FKE, and who did I miss out? And the registrar, of course, from government. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, walimu wote ambao wako hapa na wale ambao wanatusikiza kwa runinga, hamjambo. KUPPET power. KUPPET power. Haya. Now that I'm inducted, let me make the following remarks. I am delighted to join you during this auspicious occasion, marked by the 25th Annual Delegates Conference of the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET. You have come a long way and achieved a lot during the past quarter century. The government has developed mutually respectful and beneficial relations with your union and indeed all the trade unions. We have created the space for the trade union movement to play its rightful role of being the authentic voice of our working population. I have personally worked closely with KUPPET leaders at grassroots levels during my political career. Let me take this opportunity to appreciate the insights you have provided to me on how to improve the scale and quality of our education system. Reflecting on the theme of your conference, public fund education, I wish to assure you that His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto's administration has demonstrated its commitment to scale up public funding for the education sector. We have devoted more resources to the education sector than in any other time in the history of our country. From basic education to tertiary and university education sectors, our administration has considerably up more for the education sector to contribute to inclusive growth and shared prosperity of our country. Friends, let me elaborate on some of the key areas in which our government has made significant commitments during this year's budget. Government authorized the Teacher Service Commission to employ 58,000 new teachers, the highest in a single year on both contract and permanent basis. We are on the road to bridge the shortfall of 116,000 teachers by the next financial year. Besides, the Teacher Service Commission has promoted 51,000 teachers across all levels to strengthen the capacity of the education system to enhance delivery quality outcomes. We have increased the funding for the technical vocational education and training institutions to expand the capacity for transition of students from primary and secondary schools to tertiary education. Needy students from the underprivileged backgrounds are supported through bursaries and grants. Primary and secondary schools enjoy increased capitation that takes into account the increased cost of funding of education services. Universities have benefited from additional funding, including research grants. The Higher Education Loans Board has restructured its funding model to ensure its funding is aligned to the ability to pay of university and college students applying for educational loans. In August this year, President Ruto awarded a charter to the Open University of Kenya, which was established to empower Kenyans to acquire new knowledge, skills, and expertise for development of our country. The government has further negotiated a collaboration between the university and the Indira Gandhi Open University to promote distance and technology applications in education. And I was in India recently with the President when the Memorandum of Understanding was executed. These initiatives and many others are transforming the education and skills ecosystem, positioning our youth to acquire relevant skills for supporting Kenya's transformation journey. In local communities, youth polytechnics that had collapsed have sprung back to life, empowering the youth with skills for gainful self-employment. Making these commitments has meant striking a fair balance between the competing needs for partners from various government ministries and agencies. We also balance the interests of various stakeholders, including employees, unions, and employers. Furthermore, rapid technological, economic, and social change across the world are redefining the government's role in the complex nature of industrial relations for the labor sector. We have enacted enabling legislation to promote workers' interests and industrial harmony. In this context, the government has established a social health insurance scheme to extend health care to all Kenyans. We have heard your cries on the plight of junior secondary schools, teachers serving on contracts. We will improve their engagement to permanent terms within the coming year in accordance with their employment terms. We also acknowledge CUPET's position on domiciling the JSS structure and wish to assure you that the transition is smooth and cost-effective. Remember, I've just said we acknowledge. Let me also underline the government's commitment to publish a sessional paper on proposals by the Presidential Working Party on education reform to align them with the national laws. Finally, rest assured that the government will support CUPET's demand for the provision of a group life cover as part of the teachers' medical insurance. I understand that teachers are the only public servants, and indeed it was said here, without a life cover. It is only fair that we harmonize their position with the rest of the public service. Ladies and gentlemen, with these remarks, I will now declare this conference officially open and wish you very fruitful deliberations. Now, let me just pick up one or two issues that are important. First, let me just reiterate that my coming here should actually send a very strong signal that we value, we respect, and we want to strengthen our partnership with yourselves. There are challenges that you have indicated, challenges like the stipend that the JSS interns get of 25 or so, 20K. 17? After the tax. After tax. Yeah, so we acknowledge that there are these challenges, and that is why as much as we have evidence that the education sector continues to take the largest chunk of public resources, it is clear that a lot more still needs to be done. And we are not about to run away from this particular challenge. We will systematically work with you and other stakeholders in our country so that we can attain a more favorable position going forward. I say this because we are facing challenges. And I was one of the most honest political speakers in the build-up to the election and where we are. In fact, if some of you were following my conversations carefully, from way back as 2015, I kept on sounding the warning bell that the country is on a dangerous borrowing spree, and it is going to catch up with us, and it will cause a lot of havoc in our ability to deliver good services to the people of Kenya. I repeatedly said this. Ladies and gentlemen, and my friends who are listening, we are now in that situation. Commitments were made, and because they are now sovereign commitments, because a government exists in perpetuity, once you make those commitments, they will have to be honored, irrespective of who now made those commitments. So our position now as government is to acknowledge that we have a challenge, not to lament anymore, but to acknowledge that we have a challenge, and then we work our way out of that challenge going forward. Now, I want to talk to you as teachers, as the luminaries in our society, as the people who will help get the citizenry of this country digest this challenge appropriately. When you look at the consolidated fund, government budget, consolidated fund, one of the first charges, apart from the salaries and so forth, one of the first charges on the consolidated fund is to make sure that you're paying your sovereign and public debt. It's a constitutional requirement. We cannot run away from it. Whether you are standing on this side of this auditorium or you're on that side of this auditorium, the reality is that the Constitution is very clear that the first charge is partly to settle public debt. So we are in that challenge, you and I. You may not have signed up to it. Neither did I sign up to it. But it is now our commitment. We have to resolve it. So it will take us a bit of time, because defaulting is not an option. It will take us a bit of time, and that is why in my remarks I said we are likely to see a difficult 2 to 3 years as a nation before we start seeing reprieve. But there is hope. There is hope at the end of the tunnel. Now, I want to bring out this because when you are in a difficult situation, you are sometimes forced to make extremely painful and difficult decisions. Those of us who are in the driving seat, including the President of this Republic, is in that situation where he has to be the harbinger of some of these tough decisions that have to be made. We want to enlist you to help in the communication of this. Let me give you an example. Recently, the government said that it is the intention of government to start looking at how to accelerate something like privatization. And then there's a hula baloo across the country. Oh, the government of Kenya wants to dispose of their assets. What we should be saying is, please manage the privatization properly, transparently, openly, and in accordance with the law. That is what we should be talking about, not about the intention. The other day, maybe some of you may have seen it. Some of you have flown to London many times. You know of Heathrow Airport, isn't it? Biggest airport there, isn't it? Do you know that the Saudi Investment Fund from Saudi Arabia has bought 12% stake in Heathrow Airport? 12% of Heathrow Airport has been bought by the Saudi fund, which is a private entity belonging to the Saudi government. But I want to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, has Heathrow Airport been uprooted from London and taken to Saudi Arabia? Or is it still a physical asset, infrastructure in the United Kingdom? It is still there. But why are they doing that? They are doing that because they have no capacity to raise all that money for rejuvenation of that expansion of that airport. The only other way is to continuously tax the citizens. So we must also think out of the box as Kenyans and figure out, with all these challenges that we are facing, because government is not supposed to be doing business per se. Government is supposed to be looking after its citizens, providing security and ensuring that the public service is motivated and properly paid, including the interns that are here. So if we have 355 public entities or parastatals and they are loss-making, they are in debt, and the government is being forced to pay that debt. Instead of paying the debt, if we can get them away from that misery and we stop sending money to pay their debt, would that money now be available to increase the salary to the interns. These are the hard decisions we have to make. Because a government can only raise its money from basically two sources. Either you go into debt or you tax. That is where you get money. It's a debt or tax. Recently, we have seen taxing and levies has reached its limit. It's very painful. So as a government, as a nation, we must now think away from continuously taxing the people of Kenya to start looking at what are the other areas that we can make a saving, what are the other areas we can raise resources, inject money into the system so that we can release resources to increase and to ease the burden that the teachers of this country are facing. I want to enlist you to support us to make these tough decisions so that you can have more resources to go to the education of our children and to go into your pocket as better salaries as we move forward. These are some of the challenges. But be that as it may be, we want to look at other things. We want to look at, through, for instance, the diaspora docket that falls on Kenya, that I hold. We must also look for avenues to export human labor, skilled human labor. We must negotiate internationally agreements that can allow or can facilitate you as teachers to go and seek your livelihood, whether it is in Germany, whether it is in other countries, Botswana, whether it is in the US. We must, through the negotiations, also broaden the scope to allow you to have opportunities that we may not be readily available here, or perhaps even greener opportunities in those areas. So these are some of the things that we want to pursue. These are some of the things we are engaging in when we are talking about economic diplomacy, because we want to find opportunities for the people of Kenya, the people you train, very skilled people that you are producing for this country. We must find outlets for them, whether it's here or whether it is externally. And we can only do this with good partnership. We want to assure you, and I personally want to assure you, that I will be an advocate for your cause in government, so that we can find a constructive way of emerging out of these challenges. I do not want us to go back all the time to say, this is the problem, that is who. We must move away from the blame game. But I've acknowledged that where we are there as a nation. Right now, it's not a question of who put the signature to what document. We are bound by those commitments. Now it is time to work collectively to get out of those commitments. So, walimu, I have listened to the statements made by your leadership, and we shall follow up very, very carefully. We shall also continue to engage Parliament effectively, because Parliament, again, according to our Constitution, is supposed to guide us when it comes to resource allocation. We need to assist them. We need to get their buy-in. We need to get their support and other stakeholders. And in due course, what appears like a long dark night shall become a long bright day. I can assure you. I can assure you. So with those remarks, let me once again wish you a very good 25th anniversary. And it's so good that your founding members have been acknowledged and they're here. Growing from 300 to 160. That is not just, that is a catapult. Somebody has used a catapult, so you have moved from a very modest number to that huge number. And I can tell you, I know when teachers want to drive their bargain, they can drive it very hard. Because I happened to be Minister for Finance when Chadwick Adongo and Katumanga were driving a very hard bargain at that time. But the economic circumstances are those that we need to come to terms with. I've given you an example of privatization. It's not as bad as people make it look. It's whether we do it correctly in accordance with the law, so that the people of Kenya can benefit. Let's look at somebody saying KICC is a national heritage. Absolutely. It is true. But in the last few weeks, in the build-up to the COP25 summit, the government of Kenya has had to spend money to rehabilitate it. Not little money, a lot of money. And they did only part of it. Now, to give you an example, KICC is a state corporation. Suppose through the teachers' circle, the teachers' circle became a partner under a model that can be discussed and looked at, became a partner in the KICC. And the government, instead of having 100% of KICC as a management company of KICC, cedes a certain percentage to the teachers' circle. And jointly with the teachers' circle, you get somebody who can manage it commercially and make it have a proper turnover. Tell me, will that have stopped from being a national heritage? Will it have stopped it? It will remain a national heritage in Kenya, exactly where it is. So there's a lot of learning to be done, because people are misinterpreting a lot of things, and in the process they are delaying the process of us getting out of difficult situations. When I was when we look at the contributions that we are talking about to some of the entities, let me just talk about NHIF or NSSF. If you are an actuarist, these people who understand mathematics very well and are able to deal with it projecting so many years, these actuaries, if you are to tell them that the contributions that we have been making over the years, how can somebody be in the civil service, work for 30 years, and his takeaway home is only 70,000 shillings? Where is the logic? Where is the commensurate return for his years of service? It doesn't exist. So this is the debate. And as I said when I started, I'm appealing to the luminaries of this nation. Let us guide our citizens to have informed debate on how we can recover the economy of this country. It is not about being emotional. It is about collectively coming up with the right ideas and then moving forward. Irrespective of your political persuasion, irrespective of your gender, let us work together, and I can tell you, Kenya can be a very important economic hub, and that is what we intend to make it. The human resource capacity of Kenya is really being admired. But we must stop comparing ourselves to certain areas. We must now start aiming for the best. And we can only do it, you and I, if we work together. Kupet power! Kupet power! Asanteni sana, and God bless you.